Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Green, Public Relations Supervisor for Somerset County Schools. Thank you for being here tonight. Your commitment to Eel Island Elementary School and our system as a whole. We know that recent events have raised concerns and sparked passionate conversations, but we want you to know that your voices matter deeply to us. Tonight's an opportunity for open and honest dialogue, and we are here to listen and to understand your perspectives and work together towards the best outcomes for our students and staff in this community. We want to ensure that every decision that we make is guided by collaboration, transparency, and what's best for our children. Here's how tonight's meeting will be structured. First, our board chairperson, Mr. Bill McIntyre, will share a few words, and then Dr. Tasker-Mitchell will share her comments. Afterwards, we will open up the stage for audience questions. Individuals will be called up to the microphone in the order in which they signed up on the sign-up sheet, and if you need to still sign up, please see Ms. Walters. And you will each have 2.5 minutes until we run out of time or we run out of speakers before our meeting ends at 7 p.m. So we ask that everyone observe our meeting norms, which are respectful communication, active listening without interruption, and speaking one at a time. The meeting will end early if we're unable to observe and maintain these norms, so it's very important. If you don't get the opportunity to participate tonight, but you would like to leave feedback for us, there is a QR code on your agenda. You can scan that with your mobile phone, and it will take you to our feedback form, where you can leave a comment there. And now with that, I'd like to introduce someone who also shares our commitment to transparency and collaboration, our board chairperson, Mr. Bill McIntyre.
Make this a little taller here. I guess. That's working, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. I guess I actually didn't think I deserved the podium, put my papers on. Just kidding, girl. So I'm going to hold it, bear with me as I shuffle around with my papers here. Good evening, parents, Eel Island School, families. Most of you know who I am, but just in case, my name is Bill McIntyre. I'm the board member representing District 3, which includes Eel Island School. I'm not here to make excuses or apologize for anyone or anything. These are my comments, and my comments alone. I haven't cleared them with anybody, shared them with anybody, till I'm about ready to share them with you now. I'm here to hopefully also give some perspective on the recent events that occurred, which I'll expand on later. So you might say, well, what gives you the right to comment? Well, I'm 73 years old, not the oldest person here, but one of them, I would suspect. So I've had the luxury of seeing a few life experiences come and go. I was born and raised in this community. Lived here my entire life. I attended Eel Island School, beginning in the first grade in Miss Mills's class, right over here on this playground, this new playground over here. My parents, children, and grandchildren attended school. I love my community, and I'm proud to be part of it. And that feeling extends to this school. My daughter's been a teacher and a counselor in the county for over 31 years. She spent 25 of them here at this school. Over the past years and so because of that, I've been very familiar with the school family here for all those years. Over the past years as a board member, I've visited all schools in the county, as board members are required to do. But this is my home school, and I visit here often. And in the process, I've developed a great appreciation for the folks that labor here each day on behalf of your children. I think Darcy Wilson, well, Webster. if you say Webster, everybody knows the Somerset County, about most likely where you're from. I think Darcy expressed it well in her comments on the news yesterday evening when she described Deal Island Elementary School as a community school. And that, along with the churches in our area, are what binds this community together. Now I'm going to try to give my perspective on what is now commonly referred to as the hot mic issue. A mistake was made. What was heard was heard. Close Deal Island School. And that was a part where we can assume of a longer dialogue. The comment in and of itself was and is a moot point because it was not something that was going to happen. It was expressed to the community in a letter from the board, but as you would expect, it struck a nerve. I believe in the end, for the community, as it was with me, it was more about a perceived violation of trust than anything else. When I heard it, same way you did, I called the superintendent right away. And I expressed to her my disappointment. My comments were, and I quote, and I'm sure she would reiterate that, Dr. Tasker-Mitchell, there's only one thing to do. Own it. Apologize for the manner in which it happened, and begin the process of restoring trust with the community. She listened, she agreed, accepted responsibility, and set about the process of doing that, of which this meeting is a part. Unfortunately, reactions have run the gamut from comments on social media, which are expected. Some appropriate, some not, and some social media posts which were absolutely disgusting. I don't believe that represents who our community is, better than that. There was also a comment online like, superintendent conspires to close Deal Island School. Let me be very clear. The fact that there's a conversation within the school system administration about closing Deal Island School is not breaking news. I know it isn't for me, nor for the staff at this school, and it shouldn't be for anyone who has been a member of the community for a while. What you heard was a piece of an ongoing dialogue that certainly did not begin with Dr. Tasker-Mitchell. Let me say a word in that regard. Dr. Tasker-Mitchell's been here for 6 months. She made it clear that it would take her at least that long just to understand what the status of the school system was before she could get a picture of what changes needed to be made. She came here as one person, one individual. She was given a mandate for change by the board, along with some real expectations. She would be tasked with carrying out that mandate while working with the system put in place by the 11-year administration that preceded her. That's not to take a knock at any individuals, some of which are here tonight, so it's not my intent there. But that was never going to be an easy job. I did my best to make her aware of the challenges she would be facing, not trying to put a happy face on it. She came anyway. Her statement to me was, I feel like I belong to be here. I have observed her working extremely hard toward the goals we have given her. She's been in every school in the county multiple times, meeting with principals, staff, and students, held meetings with the community in every school. Dr. Tasker-Mitchell has been willing to work with the board on some difficult issues, like school discipline, looking for ways to separate habitually disruptive students from the regular classroom, just to name a few. I supported bringing Dr. Tasker-Mitchell here because I felt she was someone who could take the school system in the direction we thought we wanted and needed it to go. Nothing has happened that changes my belief in that. Yes, she made maybe a rookie mistake, if you will. But we all make mistakes. I know I do. Let me close by summarizing. Deal Island School was not closed. Do I believe Dr. Tasker-Mitchell wants to close Deal Island School? No. Does Deal Island School face challenges? Yes, as does the entire school system. We need to have a constructive dialogue on ways to ensure the viability and longevity of Deal Island School, and the community needs to be part of that conversation. There's one thing I want to bring your attention. Deal Island School is the only school in the county which is not a Title I school. Why is that important? Money. One issue is the way we collect, data is collected to determine eligibility for that. In the past, it seems from people I've talked to, we've been less than responsive in returning the forms which qualify you for becoming a Title I school. I plan to be working with appropriate folks to take a look at that. But when asked to do your part, remember, you're helping the school in the process. Do your part, do what's asked. As for me, I've made no secret of my unapologetic advocacy for Deal Island School. I've made that abundantly clear to Dr. Tasker-Mitchell, just about from the first serious conversation we ever had. I also made that clear to Dr. Gaddis and had several conversations with him about it, some resulting in promises that were not kept. I will continue to work diligently in that regard, as long as I'm a member of this board. As for you, I heard a recent comment that we need to fill the auditorium to show our support for Deal Island School. And that's all well and good. You're well represented tonight. But how about tomorrow? Next week? Next month? And next year? School needs you to be in it for the long haul. When you're asked for your input, please do so in a respectful, constructive way that properly reflects your love and concern for this school and its community. Because it's only by putting aside our differences and working together that we can achieve our collective goal, the long-term viability and well-being of Deal Island School. Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre. And now I will give the microphone to Dr. Tasker-Mitchell.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I just first want to take a moment to thank you all for coming out to this meeting tonight, myself and my team. And I also want to take the opportunity to just let you know and understand first that I know how much this community means to the Deal Island families, the parents, and the students here. I do understand that. I have spent the last 6 months, like Mr. McIntyre has stated, to try to get to learn and to know the children, the families, and all the stakeholders in the community. And I absolutely will receive how you all feel. Like Mr. McIntyre said, I know you're upset because of what you heard me articulate and express, a part of a conversation. Also, I just wanted to also share with you all, first and foremost, that I've never had a conversation with the board in terms of closing the school. That's never been this board's position, just so you know that. And then also, as it was stated in my message, my communication to you all, as well as the board, is that I don't have the authority to close a school. That authority lies with the board. As a superintendent, superintendents can only make recommendations. And so I just wanted to share that information first so you all understand that. My opportunity to come out here tonight, the reason why I wanted to hold this meeting is because I felt like it was the right thing to do. And I immediately told Mr. McIntyre, I'm going to go and meet with the community because that's what I need to do. Good, bad, upset, or indifferent, I wanted to come out and meet with the community and give you all an opportunity, of course, to ask questions, and hopefully that we'll be able to answer them. But I, like Mr. McIntyre stated, am committed to doing the best that I can here in Somerset County for all of the students that are in our county and the ones here in Deal Island. So I'm going to continue to do the work that I'm doing and have done to the best of my ability. All I can say to you all is just watch. Actions are louder than words, and try to do the very best that I can. I have been to this school and many of the other schools in the county several times to try to get to know the school students and the family. So with that, what I would like to do now is give you the opportunity to ask questions, and hopefully he can give you some of the answers that you want. So I'm going to allow Ms. Green to facilitate that portion.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. Okay, so I'm going to call people up to the microphone here in the front by order in which you signed up. The first person is Bernadette Gesser. And we will start a timer that'll give you 2.5 minutes.
After hearing your comments, I went on to the Maryland State Department of Education website and decided to check out and see how Deal Island School rated among the elementary schools here in Somerset County. Deal Island School comes in at 62%. For Woodson Elementary is 57.3. And Greenwood Elementary is 46.4, which clearly shows that the education here in Somerset County and Deal Island is superior to what they're getting up in Princess Anne. The school is a community school. It means so much to our community. It's very well supported by the community. I'm one of the readers from Women United, where we come once a week to read to a child who needs help. So I can see the school on a weekly basis of what's going on. Also, knowing this and knowing that the enrollment should be higher, I looked on there and there's a slight increase in enrollment. And then the students receiving free and reduced services, the farm services, is greater than 50%, which leaves that the school is really a necessity for the community, for the children of the community. And I think that that's something that really should be considered when you're considering everything for Anne Arundel County. And that, again, was information that I gleaned off of the Maryland State Department of Education website. We also would like to know if there was a chance that you were thinking of closing it, what would be the basis? Is it a cost basis? We would like to know because this school got a really good, many years, I know it's a lot of years ago, but we have a thermal heating system here. And it cost, at the time, it was reported to be close to $1 million. And I think that it should not be underwritten that, that the school is very economical for heating and heating because of that. But it's an integral part of the community. There's the Deal Island Lions Club. They do so much for the school. Everybody down here just supports the school. If they say we need cookies, we got cookies. If you say we need brownies for something, we got brownies. We're here to support the children. They're the important thing. And the important thing is for us to keep active in the school system and for you to consider how much the school actually means to this community. Thank you.
So, no, I just reiterate again that the school is not closing. There's no plans to close the school. And I absolutely agree with you. I know that I'm learning how connected Deal Island community is. So I understand that, and I understand the performance of all of the schools in the district. And like I said, as I've been here and I've visited, done my research, and read different things, articles, master plans, all of those things I have read about. So I know I have a pretty good historical context, not as deep as some of you in here, but a pretty good historical context about the impact of Deal Island Elementary School on the community. Thank you.
Okay, next on our list to speak is Ashley Travers.
Good evening. 2.5 minutes is not enough time for me to sum up what I want to say up here. However, I do want to say, I know it's not your fault. I know that you're one person just like I'm one person. But I will tell you that I don't think 6 months is even enough for you to know the heartbreak that not only these children felt the day that I was laterally transferred, but the heartbreak I feel even more now, and that I will continue to feel every day that I'm employed with Somerset County, because I went to my new position at another school in the county. And unless you give desensitizing training to every teacher here and every child here, they will never be prepared for what they would be integrated into if this school were to close. And if that's not your intentions to close this school, we've missed funding for Title I by percentages, single-digit percentages. Change that before you come into a school and start doing lateral transfers of employees that love and care for these children, just to send them to another school where they'll still love and care for children. That we have failed them if that is the best we can give them. Not just at Deal Island, but in Somerset County as a whole. That's what we need to be addressing. Special needs students, one-on-one. And every parent here should know that we have no tutoring, we have no intervention, we have 2 pre-K classrooms with 2 paraprofessionals that aren't even qualified to work in there after 2026, 2027, because the only 2 that did college classes, that, mind you, we were not compensated to do. Yes, we got $200. I got $200 to take 3 college classes, but no pay increase. Required to have these accreditations, and for what? Just to be transferred out of the school. So in 2 years, what's going to happen to the parents that were left in the pre-K rooms? Are we going to transfer them? Are we just looking for reasons at this point to just say we don't have enough? There's 7 instructional staff members at this school, and you think that's enough for our kids? Because my 3 kids go here, and if it wasn't for a mom that loved them and cared for them, they're going to have overworked, burnt out teachers in 2 years.
Thank you, Ashley, for sharing that information with your move and your personal situation. So I don't want to talk about that in front of everybody here, but it was part of our comparability report. And
It has everything to do with everybody here.
so I just wanted to address that when you have a comparability situation, it means that a school district is trying to ensure that all the schools have similar level of funding, support, and resources. And it's achieved by comparing things like teacher and student ratio, and that's why that happened. I know I've talked to you personally, but, and it also looks at instructional materials and just to ensure equitability amongst all the schools, so that, just so that people understand what happened to you. Thank you.
And then the other piece of this is Ms. Travers, so thank you for your advocacy. And there are sometimes decisions that have to be made that are outside of the control of the school district because they are driven by federal laws, state laws, and county policies. We don't want or condone just moving teachers just to move them. Sometimes there's things that we have to do that are outside of our control that we are not permitted to adhere to because of laws and policies. So I just want to rest assured that it's not something that we're just going around to schools and saying, oh, we want to move this teacher and take them out of a school community, because it's not right. So because of what Ms. Barnaby talked about, there are things outside of or within federal law that we have to follow that will help keep us into compliance. That's all that was tied to.
Okay, next we have Samantha Windsor.
Hi, everybody. Tracy, you know me. I've sent you many emails. My kids are kids that are a quarter of a mile out of the school district for Deal Island, but Deal Island accepted them and brought them in. When my son was being bullied at Princess Anne, he wasn't getting good grades. The teachers here took him and turned him into an actual student who can learn. He's dyslexic. Somerset County failed him in that way. I had to jump up and down to get him tested. I have now sent my other 3 kids here. What I would like to ask you is, you say you want to get into the community. Would you be willing to come down to almost every single community event that we have? You want to meet the families, that's where you can get to know us. That's where you can get to know our students. I have a son who left here and wishes every day that he could still be here. He's at Somerset Intermediate School. He's not had an easy time. The people here prepared him as best they could, and they gave him the love and the courage that he needed to move on. So my question to you is, would you be willing to really sit down and get to know us parents and our kids? And maybe even listen to our kids' concerns, because it is all about them.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and so, again, yes, I don't have a problem at all with coming out and visiting. And like I have shared and expressed before, I've gone to every single school multiple times. I've tried to go to family events when I am able to do so. And certainly if Ms. Walters makes that available to me, I have no problem with coming out and getting to know the children. I did that as part of the entry into the district. I spoke to children in grades, I think here from, I think it was kindergarten through 5th grade, and had to sit down with small groups of children as well. So yes, that's just, a moment in time, but I've been out here multiple times, and I am absolutely committed to doing that.
All right, next we have Mallory Harmon.
Hi, I don't really have any questions, but I'm going to share some concerns I have. I'm a staff member in the community. I work at Somerset Intermediate, where the very latest I can be to school is 7:15. I am blessed to have a before care person that is in the Deal Island district so that my daughter can come here. If I did not have her, I do not know how I would even get my child to school if that was an issue to take her anywhere other than Deal Island. So that's a ripple effect of I know you're saying it's not going to close, but even if it's a thought to, it's not just the kids, it's the kids foremost, but it's the community. You have people that lose their income. You have staff members that are affected as well. So please think about all those things. Another thing I would like to bring up is actually in regards to Ms. Travers' comment. My daughter is in the pre-K 4-5 class, and there's a pre-K 3-4 class. If they each had their own classroom, pre-K 3, pre-K 4, kindergarten, they would have each had a pair of. So one has one and one has another, but you had 3 grade levels of kids there, and they got pulled. My daughter's younger, she's 4, and she needs the extra reminders of, hey, go to the bathroom. And I won't lie, she was extremely upset when she found out that Miss Mayo was the person that got pulled from her. It wasn't Miss Travers this year. But explaining that to her in the middle of the year, and then there's also kids that are no longer even in her class. So they just decided, oh, we're going to take 5 or 6 kids from pre-K 4-5, and we're going to move them to pre-K 3-4. So now my daughter has made these friendships with kids. This is a small community. Now 3, 4, 5 for really close friends, she doesn't have in her class anymore. So I feel like because Deal Island is a small community school, we're just deciding that, oh, let's get rid of staff members. Let's move kids to different classes. Let's make it acceptable that 2 grades are in one class. So just because the community and the school is small, please don't hinder our kids' learning just because of that. And then the last thing I would like to bring up also about the community school, I'm blessed that my daughter gets to go here. My husband is currently deployed. I am by myself raising my kids right now, and my daughter has struggled immensely with being upset once her father home. And I have reached out to Ms. Walters, the guidance counselor, her teachers, and they have made this troubling time for her something that she's able to get through. because she is at a small community school where she is loved and cared for. And I thank any of them that are in this room, because I really think this small school has allowed my daughter to be successful. And there's other kids that are successful here that may not be successful if you put them in a different school. So please think about that when you make decisions like this. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Nikki Benton Ware.
I don't really have a question for you guys, other than, when I heard that, what you said in the hot mic, you said that it should have been closed down a long time ago. And I'm going to accept your apology, because that's what we're supposed to do. But I don't believe it. I believe you got caught, and I believe that the only thing you could do is what you're doing right now. And you're right, actions do speak louder than words. But I don't think you're the only one that owes this community an apology. I believe the woman sitting next to you, who's writing and looking at her phone constantly, should be apologizing to us as well. And not only to us, but all the teachers, the principal, because these aren't just students to the teachers. They're like their kids. And that's why everybody out here loves that our kids go here, because I know when I drop my daughter off here, that I know she's in good hands. And if I had to drop her off to anywhere in Princess Anne, I would have anxiety. I wouldn't feel safe. I had 2 daughters who went to Washington High who came through here from Pennsylvania, and it was a culture shock to them. Your focus shouldn't be here. It should be SIS and Washington High. I asked my 2 daughters before I came down here, they're graduated now. I told them not to just, whatever comes to their mind first when I ask them the question. I asked them, what about Washington High scared you most? Or what needed to be changed? They said the safety was number 1 and education. One is in college right now and is not prepared because they just push people through school. Down here, these teachers don't push our kids through. They help them. And the classrooms are small enough to where they can teach every kid individually if they need it, along with the helpers that you're getting rid of. So I don't really have a question, other than I believe she owes us an apology as well. Thank you.
Up next, we have Murry Carrick.
Hi. I have been a lifelong resident of Somerset County up until a couple years ago. Former Somerset County public student, mother of a former Somerset County public student. Ms. Barbie has seen my name many times on emails. Jackie made a comment that it's more than just the kids being students. Jackie's great aunt to my grandchildren. Darcy and I raised our kids together in Somerset County schools. Carrie and I have worked together for years for Washington High and for the students there. And for students here at Deal Island, Somerset Intermediate, Pickett. Mr. McIntyre made a comment about being here for the long haul. I'm in the process of trying to buy property down here so that my grandkids can go to school at this school that you made a comment you want to close. It's frustrating to me that my understanding is in spring of '24, the school qualified for an accreditation for federal funding through the expansion grant for pre-K through. My understanding of that grant is that the money is specific to either school or district. And as I did further research, Woodson has a Judy Center and has qualified for that grant. Princess Anne Elementary qualified for that grant and has a Judy Center. Where's the Judy Center here? Why was the money moved from here to be able to move Ashley to another school? Seems to me that that's breaking some federal guidelines. You say that there wasn't a conversation with the board, but in the beginning of your statements on the hot mic, you said you were told not to bring it up. That was the very first thing you said. So my question for you is if that Title I funding can be moved from this school to move the Paris so that the students here can't have the support? And is that all part of a plan to take away more from this community and more from this school?
No, I think for right now, based off of your question, that there has to be other conversations that are had to make decisions around staffing, Title I, all of those things. So right now, I'm not going to stand here or say in front of you all that yes, this is going to happen, or no, this is going to happen. That's a conversation that I'm going to have to go back to my team and talk about. And like I said earlier, yes, there are things that we have to get approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. And as far as back in 2024, yes, I have done my research, but I wasn't here back last spring. So I don't know about where those funds were and what happened with that and what decisions are made. So moving forward, that is something that we can definitely think about and consider, but that's something I have to take back to the team in a new funding year.
They were there.
So I guess my other question is that it seems with all the different things that you talked about, student enrollment, and having conversations with the board, is this the beginning of following Comar to close the school?
The school is not closing.
I hear you say that, but I also heard you said that it should have been closed a long time ago. And one of the comments that Mr. McIntyre made is that you've been here 6 months, and that you made a rookie mistake when you made that comment. You talk about you did your research on Somerset County, but I don't think you did. But I did my research on you, and you've been in the education system for over 20 years. It's frustrating to me that that would be considered a rookie mistake.
Thank you.
Thank you, we're gonna have to call time.
Thanks.
The next person is Chelsea Prysock.
Hello, so you up there as a previous employee of the board. I have a unique situation as where I have worked here, and I've worked in every single school in the county, including up to Washington High, which I enjoy thoroughly, so I'm not here to dog the other schools in the county. I think about the logistics of these decisions. I feel Deal Island is always the first one to be taken away from, and then there's always the argument the other kids in the county do deserve it more. That's not an argument I would disagree with. It's the fact that when you go through educational classes or case management, for instance, we talk about least restrictive environments. That's what the alignment is for a lot of these children. I just don't understand the conversation for years, because I went to Gallup myself. I'm in the same classroom my daughter is currently in. When she started here last year, she spoke maybe 15 words if we're lucky. She suffered a stroke at birth and has had many complications, and she's now over 100 words. And I think a lot of that's because Miss Travers and Miss Stephen, I'm trying to get emotional. This is personal to me. I'm born, bred, lead here. I live here. I live 5 minutes from the school. I worry if my child would go on the bus for 20 minutes or more, what that would mean for her, especially when she cannot communicate all of her needs. I'm not saying my child is more special than anybody else, but I do think we could go back to the conversation of redistricting and bringing some of the children from Princess Anne, Greenwood, etc., to the school so they can also experience the positivities that are within this school. I think the biggest question here is how do you trust what the board says now versus what you said candidly without knowing that you're being recorded. In the public eye, after 6 months in a new job, I'm not saying you're not experienced, you are, it's obvious, and you're very well spoken. And so I'm just wondering, after 6 months, do you really feel the qualifications to know what's right for our children here and to make those decisions? And more so, how can we trust you in the future?
So all I can say to you all, because I'm not gonna sit down here and ask or say that you can trust me. Like I said earlier, I will have to show and demonstrate through my actions. And then the other piece of this is there are decisions and things that need to be made that sometimes are difficult. You all know that Somerset County, very transparently, has had several challenges over the years. Several fiscal challenges, just challenges in terms of funding of this district, not just Deal Island, but all of the schools that are in the county. And there are tough conversations that have to happen sometimes that administrations have to make, not just this one, but prior administration. So there are difficult decisions, there are difficult days ahead. You all watch the news. You know that our governor right now is talking about the large deficit that we have here in the state of Maryland. We're looking at a $2 billion deficit with only a $1 billion revenue for our state. So yes, there are going to be tough decisions that have to be made. But for me, and what I have expressed before, is Deal Island is not going to close, and there are no plans to close the school. And that is my stance, and that is what I'm going to share with you all.
Okay, next is Darcy Wilson.
You've iterated in your responses to many of the speakers that the school is not closing. To me, with the hot mic conversation, it had been discussed. Some point in time in your 6 months here, it had been discussed in order for you to make that statement. And so I'm a little doubtful also in trusting your word and saying that this school is not going to close, because everybody has tried to close this school. And I wish to God every school within this school system could be exactly like this school. This school is the model for what our other schools should be striving to be. You also stated in your opening address that you're committed to transparency. After the December 9th meeting was rescheduled, you invited the community to come to this meeting. The correspondence since then has been exclusive to parents and guardians. I don't know what changed that we're magically allowed to be here, but how did that create transparency? And also, how did it start to rebuild trust with this community when those were the statements being put out?
So for the first part of your question about the closing of schools, there had to be a discussion. There was not a discussion. When I expressed that to you all, I am really being honest and saying that there wasn't a discussion. What I will say to you is, because I did read articles, I have read past capital improvement plans and things of that nature to get the historical context of the school. That is how I found out that there were conversations about the school closing and why there had been discussions about the school closing. Because just as you stated, that this has been a conversation for years. And so as a person coming in trying to quickly understand and learn about each school's needs and their challenges and the district's funding challenges and the buildings, the structural makeup of all of our schools, that is what I did. So when I tell you that I have not had a conversation with this board about closing Deal Island or that not being their position, that is what I meant. And so that is what my position is, and that's how I got that information. The second part is the meeting of the parents and the guardians on, for this particular meeting. So the first one on January the 9th was canceled because of the weather. And I was asked to do that. Okay, so that is why. And not only was the weather bad, and we didn't want people to have a risk of somebody getting in an accident, but that was what I was asked to do. So that's why I said, okay, well then let's go ahead and reschedule it then for the next week. And to go along with that, because when I receive and get information, I have to make the best decision possible. So for me, I wanted to make sure that parents and guardians had their voices heard tonight. When you hear what Mr. McInturf talked about, all of the comments and nasty things that were articulated and expressed on social media, when I heard those things, I saw those things, I said, okay, there are some other groups that are gonna try to possibly come here and may not have the intentions that the parents and guardians deserve to be able to have their voices heard. So it wasn't any ulterior motives. It was strictly to be able to give the parents and the guardians in the community the first opportunity to have their voices heard first before anyone else. That's all.
Okay, I accept that, but you would have been much better off to state that in your correspondence, because the parents and the guardians in this community are all unified. We would never have come to hijack any parent or guardian's time with you. We're unified, we're a community. And I'm not suggesting that you had a conversation with the board about Deal Island closing. I know that that was not a conversation with the board, but that had to have been discussed with you and someone else, because I know that it wasn't discussed with them.
So I can't convince you, and I'm not going to, but I'll be clear with you, like I said before, that it came from me investigating, reading, because I wanted to learn more about this school and every other school in the county. So that is what happened.
So why did you, this is my last, and I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, that's fine.
Why did you state it should have been closed a long time ago, if it's not your intention to close it?
Because that was the historical context that I learned.
But I would think if that's what you've been hearing, you would have said, I've heard it should have been closed a long time ago. You were very specific in saying it should have been closed a long time ago.
Okay,
That's
well,
all.
I can't, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm giving everybody a time check. It's 6:50, and we have 3 more participants to hear from. Next up on the list is Jennifer Gleason.
Sorry, I asked that you pause my time for when people answer my questions. For Tracy, but there's no break. So when you answer my question.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Okay. Dr. Ava, I'm going to quote something that you said. I'm for a magnet school, but it's not going to meet that need. It's not going to be all their kids. Just telling you. Who are their kids? Pause my time, please. Their kids? Who are their kids? That was a question we were all curious about their kids. Who is that? Why and why won't they be allowed in magnet school?
Can you repeat that just for me?
Sure. All right, this is your quote. I'm for a magnet school, but it's not going to meet that need. It's not going to be all their kids. Just telling you.
So part of the conversation that was heard was about magnet school. And when you have a magnet school is a school that has
I was an educator, yes.
a wide range of students. And so when that happens, that opens it up to not just the school in a particular community, but it opens up to the broader audience or the broader population in the district. That's all I meant by that.
Great, and who are their kids that won't be able to go?
Well, I don't know who are their kids that won't be able to go. It may be that, depending on, well, because we don't have the magnet school, which we don't, their kids is really, it's not gonna be just isolated, it wouldn't be just isolated to this school. And so I really can't speculate more on that because this isn't a magnet school or a tech center.
Okay, I don't think my question was answered, but maybe you can email her, or maybe she'll get back to you. So the next one is, do you subscribe to the DEI theory?
That's irrelevant.
Well, I'm gonna read to you what you sent out in September. Building a strong climate and culture to connect with students, staff, parents, and community. Strong relationships are at the heart of our school community. We are committed to fostering a positive climate and culture where every individual feels valued, respected, and included. And the community got the letter, January 11th, 2025. Please note that this meeting is exclusively for parents and guardians. Is inclusive and exclusive opposite of each other.
I just explained what I meant by that, so I'm not gonna talk anymore about that. And as far as the DEI goes, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that when we talk about that, that ranges beyond just a specific type of thing. So it's diversity and equity of learning styles, access to materials, resources, and things of that nature. So I don't know I'm not sure what you're insinuating.
I just needed some questions answered. You are familiar with the Maryland Blueprint is on pause for Westmore. Are you familiar with that? Okay. You mentioned that Ms. Travers was moved because of funding teacher to student ratio, correct?
I didn't say that, no. I didn't say student-teacher ratio.
No?
I said there are other federal
Which is
guidelines,
what?
laws, and things.
Which is what?
That Ms. Barnaby talked a little bit about comparability. And she talked about what that is in terms of sometimes we have to make decisions as it relates to staffing based off of how one school compares to others.
When the letter was sent out, it was mentioned, I believe, for a student to teacher ratio, or at least the community was under the impression of that.
Yes.
Okay, so if that is from the Maryland Blueprint and it's on pause, actually, do your children go to Deal Island? Wouldn't you love to be back there? Are you glad to know that Maryland Blueprint is on pause? Would you like to have your job back? I would ask that for Ashley to be moved back to Deal Island since that ratio from the Maryland Blueprint is now on pause from Governor Westmore. Thank you.
The next speaker is John Morrison? Morrison. My apologies.
I wasn't aware of what was said, but I love the school. I've been here, resident of Deal Island area actually, since the year 2000, and my children have been coming here since 2007. All 6 of them. In fact, the youngest one is in first grade. When I started to bring my children here, and I'm not in the business, I actually have to write a letter every year asking, and thankfully, some minds have agreed to let my children come here. It was once told to me that Deal Island School is the state's only public-private school. Every start of the year, I come in here and you can look and see back today. You can almost eat off these floors. The love that goes into the care of this school starts with just the people who care for this building. It goes into all of the teachers. The maintenance here exceeds any possible expectation, and that's just the beginning. My son today, 7, came home one day from the Christmas party wearing a newly knit hat made for him by his teacher, who made one for everybody in their class. If you want to look for places for change, and you've been given some mandate by the superintendent, by the school board, I know in Napa, we have new managers. I worked in NASA. We worked familiar with change. And often change when new leaders come in and they think, oh, we're just gonna change structurally. We're gonna move people around and new departments, we're gonna create a whole new department. Look what I've done, I go and got my annual review and I show it and what kind of change I made. So I'd like to ask, what kind of changes do you think need to be made and will be given to you? From structural, financial, academic, technical? Or can you imagine? Can you create something instead of destroying things? My 7-year-old, who is in first grade, I bought him an 8-color board, a Raspberry Pi board. I don't know if you know what this is. It's a Python programming board. It comes complete with an operating system. You plug it into a monitor and a keyboard. He just finished typing in Python code so we could play Alien Invaders. And over 10 years ago, I asked the school board to think about that cheap technology for kids. That's change I'd like to see rather than looking to find out where you can destroy a gem in this county. You should be looking at other places because I can tell you the problems in this county are not here. They are in places like the high schools where I don't send my children. I send them to Bennett. And I pay every year tuition to send them there for good reason. So that they can all attend Salisbury University classes to prepare to go to college, which they all go to in the graduate. But I beg to send them here.
We have hit time,
If you
2.5.
want change, please, why don't you start with a motto for the school? Success and nothing less. 2 of those words are negative. Why don't we get rid of that motto first and start looking for positive change?
All right, we're going to take one more person, and then we are at time. The next person is Nicholas Clarkson.
I'd like to start my speech with a quote that I've reflected on for the past couple of days and thought really hard about. The quote goes, "You're not judged